From MGPicker 2.6, we support property animation on picker buttons. This new feature allows you to set keyframes on all the picker UI elements, animate their color, position, size, opacity, or any properties that are keyable, and store the animation in a new item type called animation item. This animation will be playable by the command button, attribute button, slider, or any callbacks that can run the MGPicker API commands. By adding animation, your picker will be more smooth and fun to interact with. The UI logic will be more clear, thus it will be easier for animators to understand and use your picker. In this video tutorial, I'm going to walk you through a quick process to create the UI animation in MGPicker. And the UI animation will be something like this. So the middle option panel will pop up, and then the facial panel will be pushed to the right. And if you play back this animation in the backward direction, it will be something like this. And if you play back in the forward direction, it will be something like this. So this is the animation we gotta make. Okay, let's do that. I have another picker file open, and this file we only got the simple on-off control relationship get set up via the attribute link, and there's no animation at all. So to create animation, first you need to check your picker version should at least be 2.6, and you need to have this animation panel show up. If not, then you can go to the view menu and then turn on the animation by F7 hotkey. To create the animation, first you need to create the animation item. To create that, there's two ways to do it. One way is to grab the switch to the edit mode and then grab the picker item you want to animate, and then go to this button, and then you need to choose the properties to animate, and then we hit the create key. You've got the you create a new animation item, and that animation item include those two picker items and their animated properties. And by default, it will create a key on current frame. And another way to create the animation item is via the attribute editor. As you can see now, for each property listed out here, you might see a little dot at the left side. And if you click on it, there's two menus there. One is to create animation. So if I do this, it will create a brand new animation item other than animation 1. And it will add this size property into the animation as well as the selected picker items. But we already created one, so we don't want to create another one. But we do want to include more property into this animation. As you can see, for the finished one, for this panel, we want to include the overall opacity. And for this facial panel, we only want to include X because we only need the X motion, right? So if we go back, for this one, we want to include the overall opacity, and we can do that by clicking this little indicator and add to current animation. That will make it included in current animation item. And any property that don't have a little dot means it's not keyable, not animatable. So currently we don't support string attribute to be keyable. So we only support numerical properties. Okay, for this one, I don't think we need to include X actually. So what we can do is to highlight this X channel and hit delete key, and you say, okay, do you want to remove this property from this animation item? Yes. And for panel 7, we only want X, so we remove all the other stuff. Hit delete key, yes. So now we only got all the desired property in the in this animation item, and just to make sure they all got a key on the 0 frame. And we want to jump to the 500 frame. So one thing keep in mind that here the frame is not the frame same as the in your DCC like Maya in this case. In Picker animation, the frame rate is always 1000 frame per second, which means each frame means 1 millisecond. So you can't adjust to like 24 FPS or other FPS. It's always 1000 FPS. So for 500 frame, it's basically just means half a second. To set a keyframe, you can use this one to set new keyframe, or you can hit the K hotkey while your cursor is inside the this animation panel. Okay, now we got the 2 keyframes but no animation. In order to introduce new pose, set the pose of this keyframe, one way to do it is to select each keyframe and then set the value manually. Another way to do it is to directly set the change that value in your picker view or in the attribute editor and then set key to it. So we're gonna do it here. We hit T to enter the transform mode. Basically that activate this transform tool, and make sure you right click and then turn off the transform children. By default it's on. If it's on, all these children will be scaled down as well. If we want to include all this transformation, we need to include all the size property, all these children into this animation item. But because we don't want to do that, we want to make this simple and easy. We don't want to include that. Okay, and we scaled it down like this, and then roughly place to line up this attribute button, because at the end of the day, we're gonna use this attribute button to play back this animation. And we hit enter key to confirm that. And we also want to turn down the overall opacity to totally invisible, and make sure we are activating the frame 0, the start frame, and then activate this area and then hit K. So now if we move this, you can see it's actually playing the animation in real time. And we also want to move this facial panel back to the left side along with the body panel. And then we also set the keyframe at frame 0. Okay, so now if we play back the animation, we got a very simple linear animation. So for panel, I want it to just ease in. So we just use this. And then for the facial panel, we want a little bit overshoot. So what we can do is just to select this anim curve, and then we choose this a little bit overshoot. So now if we play back the animation, it's something like this. And if we play back in the backward direction, it will be something like this. So I think this animation is ready. The next question will be, how are we able to play back this animation when animator use it? With the edit tool activated, we right click in the place where we want to put the command button, and then we choose create animation playing command button. The same menu will be available if you are in the command button tool. You can also do it. And then it will list out all the animation available in the scene. You can choose any of them and preview them. But before that, I would like to rename my animation item. Like for example, option anim. And then I go back and create this command button. And now we can choose play by name. That just make the code a little bit more readable, because otherwise animation 1, you don't know the kind of animation it is. Star value blending. What does that mean? So that means if I go to the star blending demo, if I hit the preview mode, if I choose to click play back without blending, as you can see, original place is here, but then this button pop to the start frame and then do the animation. But if I play back with blending, then it will use this current position or current state as a start frame, and then it play back to the next frame until to the end of the animation. Most of the time we want to turn it on. So if I turn it on and then say create, it will create a command button. But in our case, we don't want the command button to play back the animation. Instead, we want, when we trigger this attribute button, turn it on and off, we play back the animation. So let's do that. We select the attribute button and we go to the post change callback. Nowadays, we use Python instead of Mail. And we click on this down arrow triangle. And with the new feature, we have this animation playing. And we don't need start value blending because it's always play from the start. But we do want to defer hiding until playback finished. What does that mean? It's to tell MGPicker that please defer hiding this option panel until I finish the playback. Okay, so we insert. So now if we do it, it's weird because it always play back the animation in a forward direction. We want to play back in a reverse way. So how to do that? This requires a little bit of the coding, but it's very simple. I don't want to type in all the commands, so I can just copy from here. I will explain in a minute. First line, we just import that Python module. And this line basically say, okay, give me this button ID, which is the attribute button 74, and store that in this button variable. So basically, when user click on this attribute button, it's interactive with this attribute button, and that means it will be current item, and you can query the current item using MGPicker API. And line 3 is basically means, okay, what's your current value after the change? Because we are in the post-change callback. Okay, so if we turn it off, this CV will equal to false. And then this line is automatically inserted. And when it's off, we want it play back like reverse way. But how do you know that to play back in a reverse way? One way is to just you go to the help for programmer and then check all the command flags. Another way is just simply go to this again, but this time we hit the playback word option and then insert, and we compare those two. It's just backward equals to true, right? So we can remove this one because depending on the current value, if it is false, we want backward to true. So that means it's simply like not CV. Okay, and now if we preview it again, voila, the animation is there. Another feature I want to mention is the animation editing on the item level. So if we go to this finished picker file, as you can see, we got more animation. So if you already make the animation for the right hand, you want to copy it to the right hand, what you can do is to go to the outliner, right click on it, and there's a duplicate animation. So duplicate animation basically just simply duplicate it, and then you can just change the like replace it with other properties or do some minor tweak so that you make up an animation out of the old animation. But what we have here, we want to mirror it. So we also have the mirror duplicate animation. What the mirror duplicate does is to replace all the items with its mirrored items set up in the picker file. And then it also check each property to see if they need to update the value relative to the parent group or panel. So for example, the X, obviously we want to mirror it, right? X this one and this one is different. And besides that, this mirror duplicate also take care of the name of an item. So right will be left, R will be L, etc., etc. So it's very convenient when you finish animation for one side and you try to port it to another side without having to manually recreate it. Okay, so now we know how to create the animation item, and we know how to edit it, how to preview it, and how to playback it using the MGPicker API. Before we end this video tutorial, I do want to mention one thing is don't overdo your animation. You don't want to create a super long animation that wastes animators' time. They use your picker mainly for the animating process in the DCC like in Maya. So all the animation is for cosmetic purpose to make your UI logic more clear and make it more fun to interact with and more easily to understand. You don't want the animation to stand in the way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.